that what you did?
Kia ora whānau, welcome to episode 2 of our podcast. I'm James.
I'm Cassie.
And this is the Kōrero. Hit our intro, and I should have got it ready, my phone locked. And
we're listening to you tapping on your phone and...
Wow, that was
a little intro.
A little bit anticlimactic. We're going to get better at being prepared. Nothing wrong with it, actually. Just a bit of, live, off-the-cuff stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is episode 2 of the Kōrero. Happy that we made it to episode 2.
Yes, we've had our mandatory scrap, which was yesterday.
We're supposed to film yesterday.
Mandatory scrap. Someone ended up crying.
Who was that someone?
Me again. Because someone was being an asshole.
What? I'm going to have to bleep
let's
that
recap.
up.
Let's recap.
I'm already going to have to be bleeping it out. We're like a minute and 13 seconds into the podcast.
The viewers want to know what happened. What actually happened, because I've already forgotten.
Well, I don't know what happened. You just start fights.
No, I don't start fights. That's bullcrap and you know it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do remember. You said, I need to tell you everything I'm going to say, or because you were very nervous. And I said, yo. And I was like building, I was like, don't downplay stuff. No, you don't know. Okay. I'm really nervous. You don't know.
Listen to me.
You don't know.
I'm very insecure sitting with my husband and chatting with him. I know I come across quite confident on Instagram at Loud Proud Wahine, but sitting with him and trying to have a debate with him, I'll always lose because I always become emotional. And it is what it is. And then once we've had our fight, I've had my big cry and he's like tone policing me on my cry, which you do.
Tone police, mate.
Then I will come out big time and start messaging him, and that's where I do my best work.
Firstly,
it's in Messenger.
I don't tone police. I tell her you're being aggressive, and
that is tone policing. No, friend.
It's not the tone. It's the words you're using.
Being aggressive is tone policing.
It's the words you're using at me that make it aggressive.
That is tone policing, my love.
So you can. That is the biggest cop out I've ever heard. Let me just. Should I pull up some of the things that get said?
It doesn't matter. You're still tone police. It doesn't matter if I'm being aggressive. Is pointing out what
we're really going down a rabbit hole already.
What tone policing is pointing out how the person is responding, whether they're being irrational, emotional, aggressive, whatever. You're not actually focusing on the issue.
It's a cop out.
So, no, it's not a cop out. Maybe I am being aggressive, but instead of focusing on that, focus on what I'm actually trying to say.
So it's okay to be aggressive and deliver it how you want. No, it's not okay
to be aggressive, obviously. But what I'm saying is, if you could hear me first
my
and then address
matter.
my aggression.
As much as...
If you're not getting affected by it, except all you want to do is point out that I'm being aggressive, then you're just being an asshole, and it is what it is. And
so 3 minutes I'm going to be going... No.
I won that fight.
So, hold on. Let's break it way down again, because... If you did what you did to our kids, or if I came at them like a raging bull to our kids... I wasn't being
aggressive. That's another thing.
It's going to go nowhere because you're never going to be honest.
Let's stop then.
No, you don't get to open the worms, throw them all at me, and then go, no, put them back in the can. If you came Oh, you cut me off. Was that because I went like the... Do you want to tell that story as well?
It wasn't that one. Anyway, shame. It was the yellow one.
I'm missing all the buttons, so it's just not working. No, but if I went crazy at our kids and yelled at them, or if I was just aggressive...
Which you've done before.
And what do you do when that happens?
I firstly...
You didn't need to do that.
Yeah, afterwards, but I don't...
Is that not tone police?
It's not in the... Tone policing is actually in the moment, is when... No, stop it. You're not... See, this is what you do, and it makes me feel dumb, and that's why I'm insecure.
So you're tone policing
No, I'm not tone policing you. I'm telling you what you do that makes me feel dumb.
Policing me now.
Stop, let's move on now.
This is how it gets, Fino.
No, this is not how... This is how he gets.
This is my life.
Shut up.
She comes up with phrases on how to tell me to not interact with
her. So our first segment for today, whānau, is Mana Motuhake, which we are going to be talking about politics. And if you recall from our last week's episode, our affiliation with the Māori Party, Te Pāti Māori.
Okay.
Lego.
Go.
So I guess that's what we wanted to chat about today. A few people have messaged us.
You got to give me a minute to get past this.
No, let's like switch out, bro. We just switch in, switch out. That's how we're going to roll.
Professional.
Professional. So I guess let's start from the very beginning of the Māori Party. We would have been about 18 when the Māori Party were birthed. Yep, 2004. That was our last year at Church College.
That's what school we went to, by the way.
Yeah.
All hail to the church.
Oh, no, that's going to sound so bad. Okay, stop. So we were in our last year at school, which doesn't even matter, but I do actually remember the foreshore and seabed protests. I remember it going across the Harbour Bridge, and they like had locked down the Harbour Bridge. Anyways, so the Māori Party were born out of a really bad controversy at the time.
Yep.
And you need to go look up the Foreshore and Seabed Act if you don't know anything about it.
Basically, Labour screwed the Māori people over.
And there were two Māori MPs in there who were against the Foreshore and Seabed, and that was Tariana Turia and Nanaia Mahuta, who is still a Māori MP for Labour. How about that yellow button?
Who crossed
yellow
the floor?
button, yellow button, yellow button. Oh, damn it.
That's what you told me to push,
No,
mate.
it needs to be the white. Okay. And
there it is. Green button. Green button.
Tariana Turia was absolutely against it, which basically meant...
Well, to go back, Labour had captured the hearts of the Māori people.
As they do.
And I can't be sure, but they had heaps of seats. They might have had all of them. And, well, it was just Labour had captured the hearts of the Māori people. Yeah, I don't think
they had all the seats, but they had the Māori vote.
They had the Māori vote. Māori vote. The Māori vote, and Māori were for it. And then they turned on us. And what is the foreshore and seabed? What did they say?
They basically said the government owns it.
Yep. Māori
it's the Queen's Strip or some crap.
So and I even think, because they got real specific, because
so what happened was, remember there was that iwi down in the South Island who asked about it, or who wanted to contest something about it, and then when they realised that Māori didn't have kaitiakitanga over it, then they were going to go to a settlement for it or something, and then the government started like putting all these acts together about the foreshore and seabed, and it was like all like swindly, like under the table, basically rushing laws through sort of shit.
Basically what the government did. Man.
Sorry.
Tone piece your swear words.
Tone piece.
Yeah. Anyway, the government, they just really pulled a swift on Māori and basically told them you have no customary rights to the foreshore or seabed. So kaimoana, to anything that came from the ocean and touching where the water touches.
Recreational use, getting your waka out.
You don't get to have a say in it. It's the government has ultimate power.
Which basically left it up to the public, but private owners were still able to have private ownership over their piece of the foreshore.
So it was a shambles.
Yeah, it was just ugly.
And that beautiful moment when that mana wahine stood up and she walked across the floor, and everyone's like, what?
That's the history, That's that makes me proud. So this is I guess the foundation of our, I guess, what's the word? Allegiance? Alliance?
Well, I don't know if it mattered to us back then.
It didn't then, but
it matters now. As I look back I'm very proud for the strength it took for her to stand up. Prominent.
She was a minister.
Very prominent member of the Labour Party, and to walk away from them. She stood up and she walked away like that. That gives me goosebumps, right? And I got goosebumps on my arm. She stood up and she said, to hell with you, because you're disrespecting my people, and what you're doing is wrong.
And
I won't stand for it. And she stood up and she walked away from it. And that was what the heck
that's
is
the
going
activism
on?
And the advocacy that we see today in Māori, but not our Māori MPs. That's not what we're seeing.
Specifically, the Labour Māori caucus.
MPs. Yeah. So
And so but who cares about them? But for the Māori Party, like that's the birth of something beautiful. And it's had its ups and downs, but the thing about it is that their goal has always been, sovereignty. As the treaty states, that we will have sovereignty over ourselves. And that has been, I guess, the soul of the Māori Party.
That's their foundation.
And we resonate with that. Because as proud Māori people, we believe we have the right to be able to have sovereignty over our decisions as the original people of this country. Not everyone shares that view, but at its core, that is what the Māori Party stands for. So they are, it's basically for the people. The foundation
is kaupapa Māori, and they've proven that just in the birth of how they came about, is that they will always be pro-Māori, Māori first, Māori issues, Māori injustices are always going to be addressed under a Māori Party.
Let's debunk some myths first and foremost right here, because I can hear the comments, I can hear the statements.
But they hopped into bed with National.
We just had the chat with someone we love very dearly last week, and they disagreed. They didn't like that. They jumped into bed with National. I'm like, okay. At the time, everything has to be in context, and the Labour Party, Māori MPs in last election, used this weapon so well that it drove a wedge between our Māori people and the Māori Party.
And Māori people, everyone bought into that.
This is the context. At the time, National didn't need anyone to govern. They had it by themselves. They had all the votes. Labour sucked. Labour had nobody. Nobody. They threw up all their challenges, all their champions, and they lost. So John Key, the smiling assassin, he had it locked up again and again and again. He didn't need to go and make an alliance, but he's a man of business, and he knew that he needed to fortify his little stake in the ground, and he knew that the Māori people potentially could rock that if they all left and went somewhere else. So he said, well, look, come sit with us. We'll bring you into cabinet. We'll bring you into govern with us. You come on. You make the government with us, They didn't need to do that. He offered them. And so what would you do if you're the Māori Party? Sit on the outside and go, let us in? Or take a seat at the table and scream from the top of your lungs and fight from the inside or fight from the outside?
Yeah.
They chose to fight from the inside. And so I get really, really upset when people disrespect Tūroro and Marama. Those two were champions for our people. And do not disrespect them. And I even feel like potentially that, Māori MPs, and, I don't really care to name them, but talk rubbish about them. Those two people went to war. And do you know what Labour does now? That they regurgitate what the Māori Party does, and then they try to pass it off like it's something amazing that they thought up. And it's just some facts. I'm pretty sure, but under National's time with the Māori Party, more treaty settlements were taken care of than Labour's ever done. Now they're trying to rectify that. They're rushing things through, getting it wrong.
And the thing with that narrative too, hopping into bed with National, it made it clear that nobody understands politics, that the common man or the commoner or the peasant, we're all peasants, I mean myself as well, doesn't understand politics. Like, the opposition doesn't get to have a say. They're part of the form of government.
They just make noise.
They just make noise. They just hold them accountable, but they don't
hold up signs. Oh no, we won't go.
And so everyone's mad at the Māori Party for.
What did you want them to do?
Yeah, go sit in the opposition and do nothing.
And get nothing achieved for their people.
At least
they're not aligned to National nor to Labour. They will work with anybody that allows them to sit at the table. Well, this is then. It's a bit different now, but that's where they stood. So I really want to ground that out and have some respect for the mahi that those people did.
Put some respect on those names.
For reals. It really grinds my gears, and I have straight up arguments with people. My daughter's just doing a dance behind the camera.
Yeah, I'm with that 100%.
So that was the very first thing I wanted to clear up. That's super like ignorance, not knowing the full context. Because all you're looking at is like, oh, you went with National. Those are white people. Well, they're not all just white people. National isn't. They're just about business.
Yeah.
And whether Māori falls into line with it is bleh. And if we're going to go on that topic, Labour are just about people. And if Māori fall in line with it, bleh.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's for Māori but the Māori Party, which is why we are for the Māori Party, because they're about us.
Yeah.
So that's the first part. So what do you like about the Māori Party now, in this day and age? Like in the current setup?
They're like leading candidates for the Māori seats are top notch, I must say. Are we being honest?
We got to be honest, and like this makes it a little hard because we have a few relationships with different people in the party, but
we also have a couple of people following us
that follow us. Yep, and I got mad respect for majority bar one.
But do you know what? Like
But I'll still vote for them.
I follow. We've got a mutual friend. Well, it's not. He's your friend, and now he's my friend because I'm married to you. But he was talking about politics on his Facebook page, and he was saying, when are people going to start voting according to policy and not personality?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that there might be one one candidate who we're a bit off with, because the policy of Māori Party is what we're about. The foundation,
they're pushing that as well.
The foundation is what we're about. It's solid. It's kaupapa Māori. Our people need kaupapa Māori in a kaupapa Pākehā system, and that's the only way I see it happening, and that's why it's important. Like Māori to vote Māori to get enrolled on the Māori electoral roll, and Māori to be engaging in politics the way that Marama and Te Ururua showed by joining with National. That's the only way they could engage, because being on the opposition.
So Labour won because of their leader, Jacinda. So they got through on personality. This is being real.
Absolutely.
This is my personal opinion. You can't find it written down that's exactly why, but they bought into her charm, which is cool. Very charming. Also, she's very talented. She's not a terrible leader.
Nah.
I don't see anybody right now that I'd rather have at the helm of the leaders that have stepped up.
Agreed.
It doesn't mean that I'm in love with everything she does.
No.
But that's why Labour got in. But that's such poor knowledge of how the political system works.
Yeah.
You're going to get on who's the prettiest. That's not what she is. Or who's the smartest, who's the funniest, who's the strongest. You know, whatever the narrative they spin off, right? There's always going to be the combo of the charisma of the candidate, you know, whether they're this, that, or the other. Ex-sports stars.
You can't help it. We're human beings. Like we go off face value very easily.
Happened in America, you know, and it happens here. However, well, not so much here, but it has to be a combination, you know. So what are the policies saying? And it's the policies, which is what you're voting for. The candidates, yes. Because ideally, these are the people that will push those policies through. But first and foremost, you got to look at the policies and what I believe the Māori Party offer for my people. And if I even step back for my wife and my kids and I, like, that resonates with me, despite who in the lineup that I don't necessarily agree with.
And just as an example of choosing policy, everyone is so upset over the new abortion law that's been passed, and there was like something like 20,000 submissions, and 90% of them were against it, and blah 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 blah. Jacinda was very clear in the campaign trail in 2017 her stance on the abortion law, and that she did want to decriminalise it, and etc. etc. Now everyone's up in arms. I'm like, she was saying this very obviously back then, and now you're crying about it. I'm like, bro, that's why you should vote according to policy and not personality.
So tell me, for the Māori Party, tell me some of the things that you like about the policies that they put forward. Because you got really emotional on the launching day. You sat there and watched the whole thing pretty much.
Well, so their first policy was whānau ora, basically.
Which is not new.
No, it's not new, but that's what I'm about. So that was a personal thing for me about being family first, and I feel like that's New Zealand as a nation, whether you're Māori or not, is family first. I can't remember the details of the policy. exactly. But I just know I felt the wairua of those new candidates, and they've only released like 2 policies, and I haven't had a look at the climate change one yet, but I support it. No.
This is not really looking good. We're saying look at the policies and not the candidates, but we love the wairua, so we're going with it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, like their policies, they're not drastic. They don't drastically change because it's the same as Greens, it's the same as Labour, it's the same as ACT, it's the same as New Zealand First. All of them, it's the same thing coming time and time again. What they try and do is to shape it so that you can really see what they're showing.
Yeah.
And basically, our Māori Party, one, they're trying to eradicate racism, systemic racism, and to elevate Māori to a status of equality in all things.
Yeah, so that was a big part of their first policy is Māori leadership, like Māori being able to like access the funding for Māori, by Māori, for Māori, that whole kaupapa.
Yeah, so this is what they do. This is really good. And here's the thing. I was a part of the social media team for the last campaign. I just worked with Maruma. And, I was very brand new to film. I was still at university. But I've known for a long time that it's storylines that tell a good story and people buy into the story, so there's a combination of policy and the charisma, but you got to get it right. So we told stories and she did well. However, the social media team, this was a big downfall. They didn't really work on social media and they didn't highlight the core values of the Māori Party, which is we are for the people, we have worked for the people, we are on the ground with the people, we are at settlements with the people, we come from the same situations as our people, and they just got lost and they didn't share the stories, they didn't do very well on social media. So fast forward to this year, most nights of the week the Māori Party is going live.
And they've been going hard way before anyone else, like way before the campaign even started. And that's
karakia.
That's like, I feel like they felt my thoughts when I said back in 2017 that's what they needed to do. I actually messaged someone and I was like, keep doing this.
I said this to Maruma and she's like, we know. I guess they learnt lessons and message, tūroroa, same thing. And you learn. You can only learn. But what they're doing is they're making a presence and they're showing us what they look like.
And what they're about their policies.
So they're living whānau order, they're living our culture, they're having himene, they're karakia. They're showing you who they are, and that's what you want. And that's what I'm really happy about, to see that it's a strong representation of our people.
And their whānau order policy as well is about like partnership with Te Tiriti. So making sure that we have an equal voice. And they specifically said, we're not asking for 100% leadership and all these things because we know we wouldn't know what to do with that off the bat, We're being honest and we're being fair, and we're just asking for our piece of the pie.
And I think this is probably the last piece, because this is not like the Māori Party podcast, but we just really want to be very clear, because we debated this. Do we be biased? I was like, no, this is our show, and we'll share what we feel, and we'll show you who we are, and we stand for this because at the end of the day, we got 4 babies, and we want them to grow up in a world where they're proud to be Māori. And quite frankly, I don't think Labour inspires being proud to be Māori, nor does National, nor does New Zealand First, nor does anyone else that I can see.
Greens are not that bad.
But they're not inspiring to be proud to be Māori. They're being proud to be conscious human beings. But they have a beautiful leader. She's awesome. Madam Davison, she also interacts with us from time to time. Very, 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 very respectable wahine. However, I just don't believe that the Greens stand the ground on being Māori and being all about making sure our people get what is owed to them and to elevate them out of the status that they're in.
Yeah. Kia ora.
So that's where we're at on that. So cool. So we just wanted to really make sure we stand. And that's our political kōrero today. Just about when you vote, and tying it up, make sure you know the policy. Make sure you know the characteristics of your party, and align with a party that aligns with you. Don't go red or blue because it is what it is.
No. Oh, we'll discuss that at another podcast.
Pick the party. We said it last week. Pick the party that fits you. And what we've shown today is that the Māori Party fits with us and ours.
Kia ora.
All right, moving on. Mental health.
Taha Hinengaro.
Aye.
Is that going to be our segment change? Taha Hinengaro.
You can say it like that.
Yeah. Like the come and go.
Poor choice of words, poor choice of tone.
For your dirty mind. Bro.
Anyway, I stream Forward Pack streams, and we talked about this last night, the inner critic. And honestly, that's like the hot topic for me, the inner critic. If you don't know what the inner critic is the part of your brain that basically, breaking down to layman's, says mean things to you. Makes you doubt yourself. Just it's your constant critic. It's your critic.
It wouldn't be your ego either, would it? Because your ego protects you, but your critic attacks you.
Ego's your kaupapa.
But it wouldn't be your ego, eh?
No, well, I don't know. I just...
it's your inner critic.
It's
your Percy.
Yeah. So I called mine Percy, right? And we're going to base this little brief stint off. We won't go on forever, but we'll go on as long as I feel like it. No, like... On my stream last night, I explained why I call my inner critic Percy, and I'll get to that. I had a question from a really good friend of mine, good person. He's got a degree in psychology. He asked me on stream, he's like, honest question and looking for discussion. Is it a good thing or good decision to name your inner critic or your mental illness? He's like I see pros and cons, and you're like honest feedback on it. And I gave my opinion. And there's quite a few people, there's few people in the chat that they jumped in as well. And one of them is professional as well. She works in it, but other people from their experience kōrero and commented. And I thought it was a really good question. But it was really clear it was coming from a professional standpoint, which I can really understand. So I named my inner critic Percy because for many years I didn't know I lived with a mental illness. And my inner critic was out of control. Like, I come from a domestic violence home. So my baby brother, he has a different father, and we had domestic violence growing up. And my amazing mum, she would endure a lot and protect us. You know, being real, there's times we ran for our lives a couple times, and I seen her handle things that women shouldn't, let alone my mum, have to handle. And that sticks with a young child, you know. It is what it is. And then my dad died when I was 10. I was down there visiting. I thought I was living there. Come to find out it was a holiday. I went to school for a week.
The mind of a child.
I was told I was living there. It's my story anyway.
I'm going with it.
Anyway, I was there for a week and he died. He had a heart attack and I was outside. It was a Saturday. I'd done one full week. I was there for 7 days the day he died. Got there on a Saturday. On the Monday, went to school. On the Saturday, he passed away. I heard his wife yell out to the neighbour. I went inside and my dad's on the ground. Heart attack. My little sister, come in, Daddy, wake up, like the classic line from the movies. I remember these things. I have vivid memories of these things. They add to what goes on in my head. I started putting on weight, you know, as a coping mechanism, like eating and all that kind of stuff. And I'm a little kid. I don't know any of this. I get bullied. Because of what I'd seen, I don't like violence, so I won't fight back. That's in primary, intermediate, and throughout high school. I'm physically strong and capable to defend myself. I just wouldn't because of what I've been through, right? And my inner critic would just go crazy. And I have memories like of things that happen, and then I would get just thoughts like, you suck, you're stupid, you're dumb, man, you're weak, you can't do blah, blah, blah. And because what will happen is I can only hear my voice. And it wasn't until I was 25 when I realized I lived with mental illness because I was starting to be a social worker. I didn't finish that. I'm a filmmaker. But we had to do a self-care plan, like learn about that. And I was going through a practice one and I ticked all the bloody boxes. And do you remember this? I come home from school and I was like, babe, look at this. Yeah. I was like, I ticked all these boxes. And you're like, hey, what does that mean? I was like, I think I have mental illness. And so we went to my doctor, who I played rugby with, and he's the man. He's just like, yo, it looks like you got anxiety. I couldn't entertain the idea that I had depression because depression was so disgusting and anxiety was so mild, but they both suck. They're both hard. Anyway, And we started that journey. And maybe like, I didn't start counselling 2 years after. I was about 28. I've done counselling growing up, but I was about 28 when I started counselling with my counsellor here. We moved away from where we were living. And I learned about the inner critic. And it made so much sense. And she goes to me, who said these things to you? And I was like, oh, no one. I just think that. And she's like, that's not true. You don't think those things. It's called the inner critic explained it. And she's like, so who said that to you? And I was like, oh, honestly, I can't remember. So it's like, you've just always thought you were useless. You were this. And I was like, yeah. And I can only hear my voice. And she's like, oh, we can try. And I was like, it's probably not going to work. And I said, this replays in my head over and over. And I was like, oh, this isn't good. And then so I developed a little coping mechanism. And I was like, no, when I hear that, I need to be able to differentiate what's me and what's that inner critic. So I named my inner critic Percy, because Percy is like kind of a name you feel like you can just.
Didn't we name it Percy after was it like a Narnia or like what's that thing? It was a movie and Percy was like a bad guy.
I know. I think Percy was off the
Was it Harry Potter?
No, it was Narnia. It was the. Oh, actually, I can't remember now.
No, it was one of those like fantasy movies, and Percy was a piece of shit. Shiz.
31 minutes again, times. Sensors gonna come up on their face. No, so anyway, we named it Percy, and the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I feel like this is like
common.
No, this is like a fantastic strategy to do, and I promote it.
Oh, okay.
And to those that have used it, it works.
I also think it's common, and no one really knows it.
About inner critic?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it is. Everybody has an inner critic.
Yeah.
Everybody gets like attacked by your inner critics. You just accept it.
But we just haven't done the inner work to know that that's what's going on.
But the thing is, if you're like me and it's really severe, you just hear your voice, and that's damaging. How do you argue with yourself about yourself? How can you dismiss it? If she says something to me I don't like, and I tell her, she tells me I'm tone policing, but...
No, there's a
We're not going to get into that fight. We're not going to get into that.
Don't start.
I just had to like...
Or I'll finish
I have to just prod in there. No, but I can dismiss that because it's her. I can hear her. I can see her. I can identify that it's her and her opinions.
You can touch her. You can feel her. No.
This is a different podcast.
Sorry. OnlyFans podcast.
Coming soon. Coming soon. Coming soon.
Oh, bro.
Jake, stop
Hurry
it.
up.
No, you're pulling me away from what I'm trying to say, okay? Bad words.
Oh.
You just threw me. No. So, anyway, I can dismiss it because I know it's her. And I was like, I need to be able to do that for myself. So I named my inner critic Percy, and when I hear negative things, like I start to really attack myself, I can identify now that it's Percy, and I'm like, no, you can just bugger off, Percy. Like, I don't need to listen to you. Or I tell her, and she like goes, but you tell Percy to bugger off. Like those thoughts are not your thoughts. They're not needed. They're not helpful, and they're not true. And we re-establish my center of self-worth and value, right? So to go back and answer that question to the bro, yeah, I know. I definitely believe it's really important. And what I would wish and hope is that we have more respect given to those of us that have lived these experiences rather than those that have studied them.
So was this the bro who has a psychology degree was like questioning?
He wasn't like...
No, not in a bad way. He was like just genuinely like asking, curious.
He said he can see pros and cons.
And he doesn't suffer with mental illness?
I don't know. I'm not asking. But my thought is, I kind of got the feeling like it sounded like he's like, well, that sounds like you're a little bit crazy talking to yourself. And I don't think I can't confirm it. I'll ask him. I'll flick him a message.
Yeah.
But
be honest, bro.
No, it wasn't bad. His question.
No.
His question was really good.
But it's interesting that he asked you that for someone who should be advocating for inner work. And inner work is going within and really questioning yourself and what's going on within you.
But it just depends. I think the professional world
doesn't do it holistically like that.
I don't know if it's holistically. I don't know if they're ready for the approach of those of us who live it, and what we cope with,
and what's working.
I don't know if our opinion's valued. Like I know people that really poo on Mike King. What does he know?
Poo.
Well, I'm not gonna swear. I'm not gonna put the censor thing on my lips. Like they rubbish him, and that's not fair. But like that, it is what it is, and that's how it goes down. So, I just wonder Well, it's just my opinion. I don't think the professional world takes those of us who live with mental illness seriously. As soon as we have
You reckon?
Yeah, that's my opinion. I could be wrong. I was talking to
You're
a
probably
professional,
right.
and he kind of agreed with me. He was like, yeah. And I was like, that's not fair, because, you know, if you're an athlete, right, boxers all get taught the same skills. You don't hone them until you have a fight. So in-ring experience, personal experience, becomes invaluable. Like, it is gold. So you have to they put in sparring hours so that, okay, I know how to go like this, but if somebody goes like this, I know how to go like this, because I can see what it looks like in a body. I can feel, you know, I know how I feel. You have to get on the ground experience. Everywhere in life, it's like that.
Yeah.
People are called rookies for a reason in sports, or, you know, juniors, or, you know, new entry students. You know, like when you're starting school, you're a baby or whatever, a junior. There's all different names, and then you become a senior because you're older, you've experienced you know. So we value in life experience, except for, I feel like, when it comes to mental health.
It's so weird though, because I've just about finished my psych degree, and I haven't learnt anything new. I've learnt more about mental illness, suffering with mental illness, than I have learning at university. And I'll learn something in university and I'm like, oh, that's what it's called, that I already knew about, that I've already dealt with, do you know what I mean? So it's interesting that, like, learned people would not take the opinions or the whakaaro of lived experience.
I don't know if it's conscious. I just think, well, you know, it is conscious.
No, I reckon it's a societal construct. It's like how we've made degrees and masters and PhDs and all this crap to mean something, which I'm not saying it doesn't, but it doesn't sometimes. Like, it's...
I just think they think we're crazy without being brave enough to say it.
Even though they're supposed to be breaking the stigma and against the stigma and
I don't think all of that. I think I want to be very clear. I have mad respect for the people in the mental health sector. They need more support and more funding. Mad respect. I just think there's old narratives that need to change. And
psychology is a very new science as well. It had not been around as long as physical science and natural sciences. So it's still kind of evolving.
Yeah, and look, here's the short and long of it. Like, I don't see that changing soon unless more people like me and Cass come out and speak.
Yeah.
You know, on my stream, there's no other streamers when I started talking about mental health. Now I'm seeing more. And I think that's cool because...
But also copycats.
I didn't say that.
Just being honest.
No, I think it's cool because we need more brave people to... But I don't want people... Like, yeah, there's enough people out there that talk about mental health with degrees and stuff.
Yeah.
But where are people that are living it?
Yeah.
And I want you to know, if you're listening to this podcast, be brave.
Yeah, man.
Vulnerable. Just start sharing, documenting what you go through.
Share your story.
Just put it on your Instagram. Just put it on your Facebook. Tag us, Loud Proud Māori, Loud Proud Wahine.
We'll gas you up. Like, we're here for that sort of stuff. I actually follow this woman on Instagram as well, and she talks about everything is duality. So there's good and evil. There's, you know, good and bad, high and low, da-da-da-da. Everything is in that duality, and that's also human beings. We're positive and we're negative. This whole positive vibes only, that's bullshit, man, because we all go through sad times, we all go through hard times, we all go through angry times, and we shouldn't feel uncomfortable with anyone going through those sad times and negative times in their lives, and we should be there for that as well as the positive times. And so I think that's all part of the stigma that is against people who suffer with mental illness. So I actually had someone say to me, I find it really hard to watch your stuff when you're in a low or whatever. And then I was just like, beat it then, because I'm not here for you. And that's absolutely, don't ever go and say that to anyone else, or especially a loved one you might have that's struggling. If you said that to a loved one, you don't know what that could trigger. So...
And like I said, tying back to why Percy, because your inner critic wants you to be quiet, wants you to not get help, tells you you're worthless. It's your inner critic that leads to suicide.
Yeah. So
we don't believe in... Like, I don't believe that suicide is where we have to look to find the answers. Yeah. I believe it's the inner critic.
Yeah.
And if we can figure out how to silence the inner critic, I'm telling you, watch all the rates go down and the happy people shoot up.
Yeah, put money on it.
It's the inner critic. And so that's my whakaaro is name it. That's the first step. So you can differentiate between
Recognize it.
You can see the difference between you and your inner critic. Once we get there, whānau, then you can fight it. Then you can start to
address it.
To build yourself up more while keeping your inner critic over there. You can hear the two. And that's why I called it Percy. So that's our whakaaro today on the mental health, is specifically around the kaupapa of one, that name your inner critic. Do the mahi to figure out when you're talking in your head and when it's your inner critic. And two, I wish, and I'm going to throw this out there to the social media universe, that more mana will be put onto those of us who live through this. Because right now, honestly, I don't think we mean shiz to people. We're just those people that are sick. But we're not sick. We have an illness, but it doesn't make us sick. And when I say that there's a narrative like you're sick in the head, you're incapable of making good decisions under stress. But that's everybody. When everybody's stressed, your decision making is impaired. When people are struggling, your ability to function goes down. That is not reserved to those of us who live with a mental illness. So I would like in the future, very near future, for professionals to recognize that our opinion matters. And you should listen to us on how we go about doing things.
Total cool.
All right.
Purple button. Is that a clap?
Yellow. All right. We're a bit longer today on the podcast, but that's by design. We're going to move into Cassie's got a segment, a bit of a short one, but it's a very important one. We'll turn that over to you,
it's
my love.
It's called Te Tea. The Tea. Go on, give me a drum. Give me a brum bum. Or...
No.
Yes, Te Tea.
We're learning the buttons.
So I just wanted to talk about call-out culture, because I asked on my Instagram a couple of weeks ago, actually, what people thought of call-out culture, and there was a mix of opinions.
Okay. Tell me what that is.
What call-out culture is?
I don't really buy into any of
call-out culture is, but it is what it is. It's pretty self-explanatory. You're calling someone out for, I don't know, bad behaviour, doing some... Basically, it's bad behaviour, dumb shit. No. No. Call-out culture is not tone policing. What happens when you call someone out is then you become tone police. So there's a lot of Māori artist activists on Instagram who I follow, who I just absolutely love, and I absorb all their creativity, because that's not my industry, that's not my kaupapa, but I'm about it 100%. And a lot of them do some hard mahi. So not only are they artists, but they're art activists as well. So a lot of their pieces represent like activism. They also speak out on issues, but their main issue they often speak out on is cultural appropriation. And there is a lot of that happening with Māori at the moment. And so there's been a bit of a call-out culture that I guess is linked to cultural appropriation from these artists, who then see Pākehā or non-Māori artists taking Māori tūpuna, Māori moko kawai, moko kanohi, taking our Māori designs and patterns, and then creating their own art. These are these non-Māori artists, and then selling them for like exorbitant, is that the word? Prices. And then what these Māori artists do will go and either message them and just be like, that's inappropriate, like you've taken someone's tūpuna. And a lot of them have been doing this for years, so they're at the point now where we're like, really, 2020, and we're still taking Māori culture and profiting off it, and now they're starting to get like annoyed and frustrated. And I always follow like the comments. I go and look in the comments and I go and see how someone's approached the situation or how Māori artists are responding. And it's all very like, yeah, you can tell they're frustrated. They're not being unkind. They're not being disrespectful. They're not name calling. They're not even swearing. They're just like, you shouldn't be doing this. You should take this down. How would you feel if da-da-da-da-da-da-da? It's a lot of putting the ownership and holding someone accountable, but I don't see any bullying. I don't see any, shaming. And I think I'm fair. Like I can get caught up in like situations where I become unfair, but when I'm standing back and watching it, I can see when people are like going too far or not. And then the non-Māori artists more often than not will respond in a way where they've been attacked, they're getting bullied, they're getting death threats, they're getting this and that, and they become a victim in the whole situation. And then everyone's like, I hate this call-out culture, look what you do to people. And it's all shit.
So you don't like...
I'm for call-out culture. I'm absolutely for call-out culture. And I think it's good. I think it's awesome to see Māori rangatahi especially like stepping into that power of not taking this crap anymore. This is the result of colonization, is that people are taking bits and pieces of our culture and doing whatever they want with it because we're Kiwis, or this is New Zealand culture. No, that's Māori culture, and you don't get to...
So... Can it ever be wrong?
Call out culture?
Yeah.
I think you can get to when you start disrespecting or name calling and bullying, like when you're actually doing that, then yeah, I think that's going too far. But
well, like here's an example. Pounamu. Very lucrative industry in this country.
Yes.
Yes. Non-Māori allowed to do it.
Do what with it?
Create taonga. Because they do.
Well, I don't know what the legalities are with pounamu anyway.
No, we're not talking about pounamu. They heitiki,
Can they wear one?
No, they create them. So non-Māori.
No.
So non-Māori are not allowed to create taonga out of pounamu for a business.
No.
Sell it.
I absolutely no. Because the thing with Māori art as well...
So question then, just on that. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
You would.
I would.
You would.
So does that stop Māori then from doing things that are non-Māori?
That's gaslighting, bro. That is gaslighting Māori's experience with what's happening.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Give me an example.
Hold on. So allow Māori... So... Do you think if you're non-Māori, you can get a tāmoko?
No, you can't get a tāmoko.
So then if you're Māori, can you go get a Japanese koi fish like arm sleeve and put it on your body?
Well, I don't know because I don't know the kaupapa with Japanese culture.
I get the kaupapa with them, but like if you like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying I'm yes or for or against it, but these are real kōrero.
If to Japanese people that was, because that's not really, it is kind of cultural appropriation.
What if I'm a Māori and I go, no, you have my permission to get that? I think that's all good. Is that still a no? Who do we get permission from?
Well, okay, so a tāmoko, for instance, is your whakapapa. And whakapapa is Māori.
Okay, so blood?
Are you going to bring up the kaupapa of whāngai?
I'm just asking because, no, this is real. People are going to watch this and they're going to think about this. So it's not just statements. Like, go into it and give them something to, like, chew on. So I'm just saying, like, do we get permission? If somebody gives permission, then is it okay for someone to do this? If Papa said to this Pākehā,
non-Māori,
said, hey, yeah, you have my permission, go make some taonga and look after your whānau. Is that okay?
I think that actually does happen, and I'm against it. So I'm not okay with it.
So then, like, what? Is there, like, this hierarchy in this police?
There shouldn't be a hierarchy, but I feel like if everyone understood
if we all own it and it's ours to give too, because in my culture, I can give, I can share. Does that also mean that non-Māori can't participate in waiata and haka?
No, that's not it at all.
That's our culture.
Yeah, that's not it at all. So there's a difference between cultural appreciation and then cultural appropriation. So for instance, Pākehā can go to Māori and they can buy Māori art and they can buy Māori taonga and they can hang that in their house, wear that around their neck, whatever, that's fine. When it comes to moko and tāmoko, that's a spiritual and tikanga process.
So what if you grew up? What if...
So then the concept of whāngai, yes, I think if you've been whāngai...
But you weren't whāngai. You grew up in a predominant... So you might be like the token non-Māori whānau in a community of Māori. And you grew up and you love these people. You learn the reo.
I feel like then that becomes like a case-by-case basis.
Well, this is what I'm saying,
then it would be... But that's not what's happening. And this is not what we're talking about.
No, I just think the reason I'm saying this, you're right. I'm with you. I'm not really for cultural appropriation.
He said I'm right.
But I'm also saying, though, like, it's not black and white, and then there will be people that ask questions. And the ultimate goal is to get to a place of understanding. so that people can understand that it's not aggression. Don't do my stuff and don't take my stuff.
But then it's just easier if you just don't.
Well,
unless you're Māori.
No, but then just help them understand, because a lot of this, you're coming to this narrative is really coming to light this year, last year. But I know some of these Tonga, these people that carve Tonga specifically, and they are like third generation Pākehā, and they take great pride in learning the kaupapa. I think some of them even like do like karakia over it and things like that. They make sure they like follow properly with all the respect that they have to give, and then they make a living off it. Do you know what I mean? So
I do know what you mean.
So that's what I'm saying. I was like, there has to be a way that we can explain this, and that there's understanding, and that there's no hurt feelings, and then we're just gonna like ruin people's business right now, like, because it kind of sounds like, you know, don't touch our stuff, which I can understand. I'm not disagreeing with it, and I think I think a lot of respect has to be given back to Māori and put back onto our sacred things. I do. I'm just saying that, like, not every non-Māori is a bad person doing it, and I know you know that. So a lot of them have established businesses for many years, so you want them just to turn it off. Like, it doesn't just work like that. People still have to live. So how do we get to a place where they can understand and transition out if that's what needs to happen? Do you know what I mean? It's all about understanding. It's not, we can't just shut people down with like, listen to me. That's what they did to us. That's what happened to us. And, you know, it's just, or if we do make decisions, how can we help them understand?
Well, I think if they can just receive our feedback first of all, then we can get to a place of understanding. But it needs to be like understood that Māori have been oppressed for a very long time, and we're still oppressed.
Very true.
And so now that we want to take our taonga back, if we're gonna be aggressive about it or be assertive, which I find a lot of the comments and a lot of the like back and forth is just assertiveness, then I think they can just take it, man. Like, just take it on the chin.
They should. I'm just saying that it doesn't go like that.
No,
and
it doesn't. And I mean,
we lose ultimately.
We're losing anyway. At least we tried to fight.
No, so I'm not saying don't fight.
So lose.
That's what I'm saying. Why can't we win? There has to be a way. Well, and I don't have the answers finally.
Well,
I'm just putting the kōrero out there.
I think we just have to trust this process first of all. Yep. Like, it's going to be a hard, burning, fiery process for maybe the next few years until Pākehā and non-Māori start being like, okay, I realise this now. Okay, I'm going to start listening to what these Māori people are saying. If we have to just stomp and haka the whole time, then that's just what we're going to do. Because we're sick of being oppressed. We're sick of seeing our art being sold for hundreds and thousands of dollars. And what are they doing for Māori back in return? Is any of that money coming into kaupapa Māori business or te ao Māori? Or are they supporting a marae in their area or anything like that? Probably not. So we're sick of it. And that's all we're saying. And we're saying we're sick of it, and we're going to keep telling you we're sick of it. If you're ready to learn from us, we're ready to go. Some people aren't ready, like, don't even want to teach. They're just like, nah, you go figure it out yourself. You go get educated yourself. But I'm like, I'll have a kōrero with you. Come talk to me, bub. Come here.
I'm hearing that, and I agree with that. I just think it's better to have them on our side. And, man, that cough has got me all sounding all like raspy. I'm just thinking, it's just how can we get you on our side so you understand why we're doing what we're doing? That's it.
That's a very peaceful. You're coming from a place.
But I'm also know that sometimes you have to fight. Yeah, and if that's where we're at right now, then that's where we're at right now.
I'm not concerned about having Pākehā on our side. I'm concerned about Māori being by Māori for Māori. I'll buy Māori art off Māori.
See, that's a different kōrero. That I think it could be a very strategy. If Māori specifically just buy off Māori and we create a new ecosystem of Māori, that's different. That's more aligning to what I'm saying. There's a better way.
But I'm also...
Because if we lock the market out...
The harsh side of me is like, bro, I don't care what they do. Go find your culture and go be about that with your art. Which is sweet.
I'm all good. Like I said, I like what you said, and that's more where I'm aligning to is, why don't we just create our own ecosystem?
I think that's what's happening as well.
Well, that is what's happening. And just on that, and maybe talk about it next week, I also don't love how that unfolds, because then certain people control these pages.
Talk on that next week.
We're coming for you, Māori pages. Joking.
But anyway, just to wrap up, te tii. I tēnei rā for today.
Got 6 minutes left on our time frame.
Yeah, just let's normalize being called out. Let's normalize that human beings make mistakes, and let's normalize that if you're going to make a mistake, someone might publicly come to you and be like, you shouldn't have done that. And I think that's okay. Like, I've had it. It sucks, but that's when you learn, that's when you grow. Be kind, be respectful, treat everyone, blah, 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 blah. That goes without saying. We're not, but I mean, just accept that if you're going to stuff up, someone might come for you, and that's called being called out.
I get you get that. All right, so we're going to go into the last segment for today. Do you have it on your phone?
What?
That thing.
What thing? I thought you had this.
Maybe we're not going to go into the last.
No, let's not. Let's wrap it up there.
All right.
No, what we'll say though is
look. Hey, I got one. We're going to promote. We're gonna have one segment where we're gonna promote kaupapa Māori, either Pākehī or Toi Māori. We're not asking for nothing from anybody. We just want to show.
But if you wanna shout out in our podcast where we talk about a kaupapa you've got going on, then message us on Loud Proud Māori Instagram or Loud Proud Wahine, Loud Proud Tāne, or if you're watching us on Facebook, Forward Pack Streams, you can send us a
YouTube,
message.
Forward Pack Studios.
And our last segment of all our podcasts for the kōrero will be on highlighting something that is kaupapa Māori, whether you're a business, an artist, anything. Message us and let's grow.
Yes. Is that us?
That's us.
We're wrapping this up now.
Ngā mihi. Have a good week.
Ngā mihi.
Love you.
No, you love you. And we out.
Down.